Hello, my beautiful rock stars. It's your girl, Rocqi, your revolutionary hippie from LifeIsRocqi. Welcome to my YouTube channel and another episode in my polyamorous journey. And if you couldn't tell, I'm repping the new polyam flag that was voted in 2022 by over 30,000 people globally. I don't know why I said it like that. Globally. So this is a flag that we all chose together. First, I wasn't behind it, but I cannot. You got to put some respect on Polyam Fam's name. He's a graphic designer, and Chad is his actual name. But Polyam Fam, he designed this art print as well as this shirt. Let's bring the shirt in closer for a look. So it has what each of the colors represent. So we have perseverance for the yellow, possibility for the white, honesty and openness for the blue, love, desire, and attraction for the red, and then community and unity for the purple. So again, reppin'. So like the plain flag, I can't really get behind. It doesn't do much for me, but these interpretations from Polyam Fam definitely love. So I definitely had to support. I got my Afrocentric revolutionary hippie paraphernalia as well as I'm building my queer paraphernalia. So it's about that time that I get my Polyam paraphernalia. Damn. Okay. We need some Polyam merch. So check out Polyam Fam. He's on Instagram. He's on YouTube. He's probably on TikTok, but I'm not. So, but yes, definitely check him out to get something to represent. Okay. Well, that being said, let's get started in today's video. So to preface, remember, I have my Polyamorous Journey playlist. It has loads of content, short form, and I'm just starting the long form this year. So definitely check out how to know if you are polyamorous or is polyamory right for you. So I'm going to link that in the info cards above. Let's see. Is there any other ones that you specifically need to watch? Definitely that one. But I also have How I Knew I Was Always Polyamorous, as well as some other good ones like Jealousy and Polyamory, and then How to Have Boundaries in Polyamory. So definitely some great ones to check out for sure. And then I also, I've been embraced polyamory for 6 years now. So I started a video resource playlist. And it's just chock full of representation, education, a whole lot of goodies. So I'll put that in the description box below. So that way you can check out that video resource playlist. So, all that being said, let's get into it, shall we? Okay. All right. So, starting polyamory. Now, first, there's two ways to start. You either are single or you are partnered. And usually that partnered is in a monogamous relationship. Not always. It could be an open relationship or a swinging relationship, which is different than a polyamorous relationship. And there's a lot of overlap as well as a lot of transition. In that open relationships and swinging center sex, was polyamory centers emotional and romantic connections or intimate relationships. So, sometimes they just, smooth transition into polyamory, but not always. And there are definitely different cultures and communities. So there's that part. So that being said, I don't know if I'm going to make two separate videos in addition to this one, catering to those two different populations, if you're single or if you're partnered. I definitely think this is going to be an overall summary and, take what works. I think it hits on a lot, but we'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling at the end of the video. If I'll do a follow-up, but we'll see. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Anyways, how to start polyamory. What you don't do is a triad. Like, why is everybody's first inclination of, oh, let me see if polyamory is right for me. Let me jump into a triad, meaning a relationship with 3 different people. And it's just like, well, all 3 are in a relationship together. And it's just like, yes, I understand that that's the representation that you see for polyamory because, one, it's just the easiest. Like, anything outside of a triad means more people, and that's just harder to navigate representation wise, everybody's schedules, or if it's a show or something, it's just harder to navigate. representation wise. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, because the majority of the people who are polyamorous date separately, meaning those are NZVW dynamics. Okay, they date separately. They're not all together in one relationship. And also open triads exist as well, where they're not polyfidelitous. And yes, I'm throwing a whole lot of language at you. Why? Because you need to research, okay? This is not something that you just walk into. You're going to be slapped in the face with a whole lot of language, okay? It's a lot. But I want to rewind to the triad. So the reason we see that representation also is because it's also the closest to monogamy. Some polyam people say it's monogamy plus one. And it's not as challenging as just dating separately from your partners. So there's that. I do want to preface that if you are going to jump into a triad situation to start your poly adventure, Jesus, you need to understand that those are 4 different relationships. You have person A and person B and person C, person A and person C, and then the group, person, or all 3, A, B, and C. So that's 4 different relationships, and they're each developing at their own pace. They each need their own time and space. And then not holding expectations of one relationship between 2 people looking the exact same as another type in that triad. So that being said, also research couples privilege, as well as hierarchical versus non-hierarchical or egalitarian polyamory. If you are going to jump, but don't do it, okay? There are other ways. There are other ways. And again, if you are going to look up unicorn hunting as well. I think it's Unicorns Are Us, but unicorn hunting as well. What you want to do in a triad is you want it to be organic. Hey, I'm hanging out with this person. Oh, you happen to meet my partner. Oh, y'all happen to get along too. Oh, great. This works. Instead of, you have to date both of us at the same damn time. I can only message one account. Don't know who's talking. Don't know who's reading. But like, just research. So when I embraced polyamory, I was in the midst of embracing my bisexuality. So I was already doing a deep dive into just queer, even though I had always been a gay rights advocate. But upon the deep dive, yes, you are walking into an established culture with a history and an established community. And that being said, there is language. Now, this is where the no label folks is going to find it rough, because the reason behind that language is to help us date one another. Okay. It's help us to understand what we desire, what we want, how to make sure we're communicating effectively and transparently, and making sure that openness and honesty is, actually coming to fruition. And that helps with the language. But even with the language, that's just a starting point. You still have different interpretations and really got to deep dive into the conversation. Like, if you don't like to communicate, polyamory ain't for you. Okay. Because you need to overdo it. All right. But anyways, so yes, research. So in addition to my video resource playlist in the description box below, as well as my polyamorous journey on my channel, some of the research that I did when I started was the More Than Two glossary. I didn't read the book. I just looked up the glossary. I believe they're making a new edition because the first edition had some controversy. So they're making a new edition that's less controversial. But I also think there's a poly dictionary website out there too. So look that up. And then just a reminder, polyamory is not the same as polygamy, polygyny, or polyandry. Totally different history, culture, and community. Okay. Again, research. All right. And then who else? Let me pronounce this name right. Marjani Lane. Margani Lane. They're on Instagram. They do have a Facebook too, but I think they're most popular on Instagram. And while they're catering to the algorithm, so they've done more reels, When I was starting out 6 years ago, it was solely like definitive pictures. So they were providing definitions and context and examples and scenarios. And it was just very helpful to learn the language and just learn the culture of polyamory. It was very helpful for me. Also, there are plenty of books now. I am loving just the array of books out there. I've been reading. I didn't do books when I first started. I was doing YouTube videos, Instagram, Facebook, as well as articles. Like when I Google articles, just articles in that sense. But now, 6 years later, but it's also because I'm accessing the public library. But check out Open, the Organization for Polyamory and Ethical Non-Monogamy. They have a bookstore within their website where you can get a lot of the polyamorous books. And then the proceeds, feed back into the community. So definitely check out Open's bookstore for that. But that being said, the Ethical Slut, definitely check that one out. It's a staple in this community. Polysecure by Jessica Fern. And that was the first book. I think she has 4 in total out now. So definitely check out that. She is a psychotherapist. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm also a licensed marriage and family therapist. So yeah. So definitely check that one out too. Let's see what else. There's a lot of books now. There's a lot. There's the Jealousy Workbook, which I definitely recommend. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of resources now. So do your research. Do your research. Let's see. The next thing I think that needs to be clarified is a lot of people come into polyamory because they're like, well, those who are in established relationships, they're like, well, my needs aren't being met by my partner, so I can go get my needs met elsewhere. Now, okay. Now, sorry, my daughter just woke up and distracted me, but my husband has her. What was I saying? Needs met. The problem, so if you are in an established relationship, you need to ask yourself, are you trying to open your relationship or start a poly relationship to save your relationship? Because if that's the case, it's probably not going to work out in the way that you desire. And I say that because polyamory isn't for the weak-hearted. Like, you got to be ready to do your work. And that's emotionally, relationally, individually. Like, it's just, you confront every insecurity, every emotion. And then that's ongoing, not just the start. Because as you experience more, it's just different things come up. Like, stuff came up in motherhood that I didn't expect prior. So it's just, it's just an ongoing journey, as is any relationship, as is any individual, as life continues to change. Because somebody was like, you were heavy on the growth, and I don't agree. And I'm like, if you're avoiding growth, you ain't like, life grows. The seasons change. Growth exists, whether we like it or not. But anyways, if you're trying to save your relationship, it's probably not going to work. Just because the only way it would work is if, okay, I'll give you a case in point. My relationship. I was in a situationship for 2 years, and everything was lining up to like be like life partnership. Like, this would be a good choice for life partnership. And my now husband was holding back, and I was like, well, what is going on? And I was like, he kept saying, well, there was a lot of reasons, but one of the things was like, he didn't want to be monogamous. He didn't want to be in a committed relationship. And I was like, wait a second. I've never asked for monogamy. You can commit to me, you can choose me, you can be my life partner, but we don't have to be monogamous. And then we had our committed life partnership, and that was for almost 4 years before we were legally married. And now we're coming up on 2 years of legal marriage in addition to the 4, so 6 total of life partnership. But so in that sense, I guess it saved that relationship. But the problem was that we were trying to force ourselves individually and together into monogamy, and that not everyone is monogamous. We just live in a mononormative society. So that would be the only case that it could save your relationship. If you have any other problems where it's actual problems within your relationship between the two of you that nobody else can solve outside of a therapist, and even that is not guaranteed, like, yeah, it's not gonna work. Okay. But I also oh, and then also don't do it to make your partner happy, because that won't last long. Your emotions will, like, you can't hold that on forever. And you're sacrificing yourself and disrespecting your own boundaries for your partner's happiness. Your partner can be happy, and that may mean a de-escalation or transition of your relationship, so that way you are both happy. Let's prioritize that. And that's where, like, a successful relationship to me is a happy and a healthy relationship. It's not longevity. So there's that. But on the needs met tip, that's not guaranteed, right? Like, you can't pick and choose what a person has. So you can have hopes and dreams, but it doesn't mean you're going to get it. And then dating is still hard. Compatibility and connection is still hard to find and align. And it's like, just because you want this doesn't mean you're going to get it. One partner may be more popular than the other. And it's like, oh, I'm just going to have someone else meet my needs. Yeah, well, good luck. It's not guaranteed, y'all. So there's that part. I also want to just say about the people who are in a relationship. I'm going to jump back to the overall. I'm just going on a tangent real quick. So obviously, because of all the stuff that I just said, it does need to be a mutual decision. You both individually want to try polyamory, embrace polyamory for your individual selves, and that is aligning with each other. Okay, because that's what happened with my husband and I. It was a mutual decision. Like, he was on that tip of, I don't want to be monogamous. I was on the tip of, I'm bisexual. I would not be forced into monogamy. I'm not choosing between men and women. I already hated choosing between men. So now it's no longer an option for me. But if it's anything where you're sacrificing yourself, it's just not going to work out long term. But once it is a mutual decision, this is a good fit for me. Does it work for you? Yeah, I think this is a good fit for me too. All right, let's continue and move forward in our relationship. Not everyone is compatible in their practice of non-monogamy or polyamory. One person may want kitchen table polyamory. One person may want parallel polyamory. One person may be more ethically non-monogamous and open to more sex-centered types of or forms of ethical non-monogamy. Another person may be very strongly polyamorous. And then there's disagreements as far as sexual health boundaries and things like that. So yeah, just because you're both non-monogamous doesn't mean you're compatible in your practice. So it's definitely something to think about and discuss. So that being said, go slow. So remember all that research? Take your time to process that. And then I'm also going to be making another video about how to deprogram from mononormativity and basically what the culture of polyamory is. I've made some short form content about it. But yeah, it's going to take time to shift your mind. And that research, you need to let it settle and go slow in the process. And I will say, my husband and I jumped into it. And when I say jumped into it, it was like, mind you, we were never monogamous. So I was with him, obviously. And then I was actually talking to another guy who lived abroad. But then I started talking to a woman and I was like, whoop, polysaturated. I only have the capacity for 2. So I chose a man and a woman. And so that was happening. Lost my train of thought. Where was I going? ADHD. Well, it's gone. Let's see. Where was I going with that? Go slow. Oh, yeah. So I was talking to someone and he was also talking to someone. Now, my talking to someone was going slower than his talking to someone. So his talking to someone was her coming over to the house that we lived in together, even though we do have separate bedrooms. but we're all on one floor. And then he asked me, and I disrespected my own boundaries, but I was still learning. I was still new. I was trying to push my capacity to grow. You discover what your comfort zone is and what's not moving. So they had sex in his bedroom, which is on the same floor as my bedroom, and I knew about it. And I did not deal well emotionally, and that was like our first like, oh, we're in this thing. we're trying it. And yeah, I wouldn't recommend that jump, because that caused some wounds, and I had to do a lot of healing around that, and trying to figure out where my boundaries were within polyamory. Turns out I practice parallel. I have no desire nor interest to interact with my metas. And I need to be out the home. My husband has metas over, so yeah. But yeah, so go slow, because the hurt can take longer to heal, and then just impacts the process of you all practicing polyamory. So go slow, and you all have to define what that timeline looks like. Yeah, because you may be incompatible in that. One person's like the next year, and another person's like tomorrow, this weekend. So yeah, you got to understand the compatibility and not try to force an incompatibility if it's just not working. All right, so a couple last things. In order to start a polyamorous relationship, you also need to find community. And this is so important because we live in a mononormative society, and your community can be past partners that you've tried to date or have dated, but you need friends. You need friends you can talk to about your polyamorous relationships and dating experiences, because your mono friends ain't always gonna get it. There's a lot of stigma, there's a lot of shame. It's just a lot of, a lack of understanding. So you really need community. You need friends. You need meetups. You need events. You need space where it's safe to be polyamorous and you can be emotionally vulnerable. And that's also poly-friendly therapists. Hey, in the state of California, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, so check me out. I'm going to be uploading my information on my husband's website, Smartt Love Therapy with 2 T's. He's also a poly-friendly, obviously, therapist. So yeah, I'm going back into practicing therapy. I took a break before becoming a clinical supervisor, but now I'm getting back out there specifically to help my community because we need it. So yeah, having a safe space where you can talk about this stuff, because it can be very challenging, especially emotionally. So have people you can talk to. I'm definitely thankful for my one polyam friend who, when I was in the raw of stuff, the raw of the growth, like she was on the East Coast and I felt held through the phone basically, and how she was able to support me. So, and she was polyam, so she understood, and she was helping me like do the emotional growth work. It can be a lot of work. So that part. But the last thing I want to leave you on is, in order to start a polyamorous relationship, also think about, why are you individually polyamorous? I say I'm polyamorous by me, myself, and I. I'm polyamorous with 0 partners, 1 partner, or more. It's just who I am. I have the capacity and desire to romantically love more than one person at a time. I also have the capacity to pour into more than one relationship at a time. Now, polysaturation is real. I did stop dating for 3 years because of it, but I'm back out here and I got a date next weekend. But anyways, what was I saying? So yeah, make sure that you are checking in with yourself and say, why is this a good fit for me? I'll also say, outside of my capacity and desire, I also align much with the culture and the mentality that exists within the polyam community. I very much align there and just agree with that more than I ever understood monogamy. So even if I didn't have the capacity, I would still be within this culture because it just makes more sense to me. So yeah, why are you individually polyamorous? And figure out if you are or not, in order to figure out if starting a polyamorous relationship is best for you. Also, if you don't know how to bring it up, whether single or in a partnership, I made a video about it. I think a short form, but test the waters. There's plenty of content out there that you can just drudge up, and just like, hey, what do you think of this? So no relation to you. Like, hey, I saw this thing. What are your thoughts? I'm curious. And people will show you their true colors, and you'll see if you can start having a conversation, or if it's going to take a lot more exposure and destigmatization before you're actually able to say, I think this is something that may be good for me. But that's how I say to start that, is just test the waters. And that's honestly what I did to my mom when I came out to her. I sent her a CBS News documentary on polyamory. So they actually had, like, you know, mental health clinicians and sociologists, and they had lawyers and people in the community. There was single people, married people, you know, triads and all that stuff. And she, of course, responded, was like, I could never. And I was like, well, ain't nobody talking about you. So, yeah. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And make sure you check out Polyam Fam and get some Polyam merch. And then check out the rest of my content on my polyamorous journey. Yeah, I feel really good. Yeah, I just started talking to someone new. So hopefully, you know, that goes well and continues going well. And I have a husband and a 1-year-old, so I'm out here, you know, living life. But all right, beautiful people, you take care of you. Light and love.